2006 Chevrolet Corvette. Merry Christmas, everyone. C6 Corvette. The official car of Hawaiian Shirts showing everyone at Cars and Coffee that their Corvette is rare and unique, ignoring the fact that there may be 10 other identical Corvettes at the same meet. Like all Corvette generations, the C6 is often looked down upon due to the amount of boomers flocking to them. They were built with American tastes and beer guts in mind. They're easy to work on, and even easier to upgrade. This is America's sports car, the pride of GM in the late aughts. Originally introduced in 1953 to take on the influx of British sports cars, the Corvette had evolved into a snarly V8-powered symbol of American excess. Its famous shape began with the C3 Vette and evolved over the years into the clean lines of the C6. While the C7 suffered a bit of angry over-design, a trend in modern car design, the C6 I feel is the perfect modern Corvette design. Not too swoopy, not too angry. Gone are the pop-up headlights, but their replacements do a fine job of keeping the curves of the car. While many late 2000s cars got car design very wrong, see a lot of Chrysler's blocky designs, the C6, to me, is a quintessential design from that era. The C6 Corvette was introduced in 2005 and ran up until 2013. Base C6s initially got the 6-liter LS2 V8 producing 400 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque. 2007 saw the 6.2 LS3 replacing the LS2, which saw a bump in power to 430 horsepower and 424 foot-pounds of torque. 2006 saw the introduction of the Z06 model, which got a monster 7-liter LS7 and a lot of weight savings. Then in 2009 saw the supercharged ZR1 step things up even further, and 2010 saw the return of the Grand Sport to bring things back down to earth a little bit. This is a 2006 base model. It has the original LS2, but it's no slouch. As with most Corvettes, the transmission sits in the back for better weight distribution. Being a 2006, it saw the introduction of the 6-speed 6L80 automatic transmission, finally replacing the tired old 4-speed. This is all slung over a double wishbone front and rear suspension that uses single fiberglass leaf springs at each end. While it seems archaic by 2006 standards to use this design, which debuted with the C4 in 1984, it does serve a purpose. By eliminating the need for giant spring buckets, it allows for tighter packaging. There's much more room under the giant front opening hood for the motor, and there's much more room in the cargo space for golf clubs. All of this is draped under a fiberglass body, and the black paint gives off Batmobile vibes. For sure, it gives off an essence of cool. But, I hate to say it, it doesn't really do anything for me. I wanted to be swept off my feet. I wanted to be excited by the raw speed. But honestly, it just doesn't excite me. It hugs the corners with ease, rear tires will light up in delight, and upon downshift, you will be thrown back into your seat. But the base C6 Corvette is surprisingly tame when, you just use it as a commuter. At cruising speeds, it's just there. I was really excited for my first Corvette experience, and I was expecting a much more visceral experience. Now, let me be quite clear here, this is just a base model C6. I fully expect a Z06, Grand Sport, or ZR1 to provide much more excitement. But I honestly left kind of disappointed with the base model. It handles well on country backroads, but that sense of speed left a lot to be desired. This car can be deceptively fast, but as someone who lives for slow car fast car slow is just boring. That Pontiac Solstice that I reviewed almost 2 years ago? A dumb, slow, and tiny car, but I had an incredible amount of fun in it. I actually contemplated buying one of those for myself for a bit, but the C6, at least in base form, just doesn't excite me nearly as much as that old Pontiac crap box. As mentioned before, this particular C6 is a 2006, and it's completely stock. The owner purchased it a little over a year ago, and it's been his daily up until very recently. While it was fun to daily, it just wasn't useful enough for him to continue using it as a daily. Between work and the kids, he needed something that was a little more useful. It now serves as his weekend toy, which is quite honestly all it needs to be. And he fully intends on keeping this Corvette stock. It's kinda up there in miles, but that just means that it's perfect for a build. Like all good sports cars, the Corvette lends itself perfectly for modifications. Corvettes make great track day cars, and they also make great drag strip cars when you throw all the turbos at them. In that past year of ownership, the owner hasn't really had any problems with it. It's been a fantastically reliable car, despite being a daily and the occasional extracurricular activities. If anything, it's been since he parked it as his full-time daily last month that he's had an issue. The old battery drained, and he's since had to replace it, on top of investing in a battery tender. Now, because these cars have a key fob, this poses a problem if the car is locked. To open the car when the battery is dead, you have a backup key, which is hidden inside the fob itself on post-2008 models, which then you insert into a lock underneath the hatch in front of the license plate. Once the hatch is open, there is a pull cord on the left side fender, and pulling it will open the driver's door. If you are stuck inside your C6, GM hid these levers in between the seats and door jambs that will open both corresponding doors. But what if the key fob is dead and you can't start the car with the push button? GM actually thought of this. If you open the glove box, there's a slot on the left side. The Corvette logo must be facing towards the right, as it will serve as the electric contact for the fob, and the car will recognize that the fob is inside the car. While key fobs are cool and all, they do become a pain when the battery inside them dies. So manufacturers have to engineer these workarounds for when that eventually happens. And one more useless fact. The rear taillights are held in with a single screw. You know that famous image of Top Gear, of the presenters pushing against the rear bumper cover that kinda lazily flops because it's just one giant piece of plastic? Well, that doesn't really help the fact that when that just vibrates apart, that single screw has a tendency to not grab the taillight, and occasionally the taillight will fall out of the housing, which, leads to some interesting times. This has happened once to the owner, and just another one of those GM things of weird lack of engineering. Since the end of the C6 in 2013, the Corvette has now gone through 2 generations. The C7 was the apex of the front-engine Corvette. With the previously mentioned aggressive styling and world-class performance, the C7 was the perfect ending to the front-engine Corvette. The C8, introduced in 2020, finally brought the world the mid-engine Corvette that's been teased since the 1970s. While the old heads in their Hawaiian shirts and their socks and sandals will forever bitch and moan that it's not a real Corvette, you cannot deny the advancements in performance of the Corvette with the move of the engine. While the C7 was a bit too overstyled for its own sake, and the C5 was the 90s evolution of the C4, don't get me wrong, the C5 is a giant leap forward as a whole compared to the C4, the C6 finds that nice balance of style and substance. While modern sports cars are tripping over each other to outstyle the last, and the newer Corvettes are victims of this, the C6 maintains that subtle cool that the C5 and the C4 wear. This is a good car, but it's just not the car for me. It's fast, it's comfortable, and it looks cool. Unfortunately, the base model just doesn't elicit excitement for me. Again, this is a shame. If this was a higher end model or even had the 6-speed manual, I feel my thoughts would be different. But it's Christmas, and I hate being a downer on a day like this. 2006 Chevrolet Corvette C6. The Wookie finally gets to drive America's sports car. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you once again for watching another episode of Wookie Drives. Huge shout out to Chris of Statesville, North Carolina for letting me drive your Corvette and rant about it. Anyways, I would personally like to thank everyone who's made this the biggest year of Wookie Drives yet. I'd like to personally thank all the friends, family, and fans who've let me drive their cars this year. This channel would not exist without all of you. I'd also like to thank all my viewers for sticking with me. I know I'm not the most polished or written. See, I'm not even the best spoken car reviewer out there. But all the feedback and compliments and even the complaints have truly helped me grow as a creator. Anyways, happy Honda days, merry Toyotathon, and just have a fantastic holidays all around. Finally, here's some burnouts to end 2020 with. See y'all in 2021.
It began as genius and grew to be legend, and has become at long last the most advanced production car on the planet.
You've never seen anything like this before.
A new Chevrolet Corvette like never before.
Never before.
A Corvette superb in its engineering and technology and defiant in its performance.
You've never felt anything like this before.
Feel the performance of the world's first computer-activated manual transmission.
Never before.
A Corvette with never-before available unidirectional turbine fin wheels and tires individually engineered for all four corners.
You've never seen anything like this before.
Liquid crystal displays, 14 separate instrument readouts, English or metric, all updated 16 times every operating second.
You've never heard anything like this before.
An available Delco Bose stereo with 4 never-before speakers, separately engineered for sound that's out of this world.
Never before.
The most advanced production car on the planet is now called Corvette. Chevrolet is taking charge.